grab a portfolio, which there's something inside, which I'll explain in a little bit. Grab a learning progression to glue on the front or tape on the front, whichever you prefer. Grab an orange sheet like this, because this will be your exit ticket today when you leave with a question that I'll pose. So if you could, go ahead and do that. We're actually going to start on the inside of your portfolio. I'm going to kind of explain the process to you guys of how this learning progression came to be. So once you have your organization done with your learning progression on the front, here we go. So have you guys ever seen a document that looks like that? Has a teacher ever shared with you like the unpacking process of a standard at all? Yeah? Casey shaking her head, yeah. Anyone else seen something that looks like this? Okay, cool. Okay, some of you yes, some of you no. So I'm gonna kind of let you in on a little secret, I guess, of what teachers in this building and myself included are doing to try to make our curriculum, to make our teaching better. So we're all, the step one of the unpacking process for teachers is to choose a standard. And so my standards for this class, as I shared in your syllabus with you, are the employability standards that I have from the Iowa Core, okay? So even though it's concept number 3, at the beginning you see that, and we're only on the second standard that we've mastered for this class, or we have worked towards for this class, I'm skipping around based on the order that I think we need to do it. So concept number 3, the standard says this: demonstrate leadership skills, integrity, ethical behavior, and social responsibility while collaborating to achieve goals, okay? So the next step in the process is to identify the key terms in the standard and to define them a little bit, which seems silly. Some are like, well, you're the teacher, you should know what that standard means. But that is a really, really beneficial part because it allows teachers and students, I think, to dig a little deeper into what the standard actually means. So next to that, you'll see that I identified the key terms of the standard and then I defined them. So I thought leadership skills were really important in that standard, which I defined as integrity, motivation, drive, interpersonal skills, communication, and knowledge. And I'm open to feedback. Are there any like main leadership skills that you guys think I left out when it comes to leadership skills? Integrity, motivation, drive, interpersonal skills, communication, and knowledge. Is there any like main ones that we really need to have on there? No? Okay, cool. Then integrity I defined as being honest and having strong moral principles. Ethical behavior is having moral principle, being legally acceptable, right, and just. Social responsibility and obligation to act for the benefit of society at large. Collaborating, working together on a common goal, leveraging strengths of self and others to efficiently complete tasks. And goals I just defined as an aim, desire, or ambition. Is there anything that you guys would add to any of my definitions? I kind of used a combination of my opinion and like Webster's dictionary, things like that, but if there's anything that you think we should add, we can totally do it. It's a working document, so. Everybody okay? Cool. All right, so then the next step is to determine learning targets. So basically picking apart the standard and having more focused in or smaller, I guess, learning targets. So I did that, and I came up with 5 learning targets that I thought were important to be included in just mastering this one standard, because that to me demonstrate leadership skills, integrity, ethical behavior, and social responsibility while collaborating to achieve goals. Holy crap, that's a lot of stuff in one standard, right? So I broke it up into number 1, use interpersonal skills to influence and guide others toward a goal. Number 2, leverage and utilize personal strengths. Number 3, utilize the strengths of others. Number 4, demonstrate integrity and ethical behavior. And number 5, demonstrate mental, physical, and emotional preparedness to accomplish a task. So I kind of took my definitions, I took the standard, the definitions that I came up with for the key terms to develop those learning targets, okay? Thank you for the head shake, Colton, that makes me feel good, like you get me. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Good, thanks. All right, very good. So then the next part's the DOK level. Do you guys know DOK level? Do you know what that means? Oh, cool. I'm actually, this afternoon during our PLC time, I get Mrs. Callan and myself are doing an overview with our staff. We've learned about it before, but we're going to again, we're refreshing on DOK level. DOK stands for depth of knowledge. Have you guys, okay, in your classes, depth of knowledge, have you guys seen this hanging in anybody's classroom? This like round thing? Okay. So the whole idea of standard-based education and like why all of a sudden you hear that word standards all the time in your classrooms now. Very important people, we don't have to get into that. Knowledgeable people created standards that they think all students by the time they graduate high school should be able to be proficient in certain standards, okay? And the whole idea behind it is that we're trying to develop our students into higher order thinking students. We're trying to create higher order thinking skills. So we're trying to not just be having you repeat facts back to us and then forget about it the next day. We're trying to get you to think deeply about what you're learning and be able to apply it to the real world. I'm super lucky because my standards that I'm required to teach are called employability skills standards. And those are the things that I think, don't tell other teachers, but I think are the most important things that we can teach to students is to how to be successful in the real world. And so all of my standards have to do with real world relevancy stuff that you will apply. It's not if or when, it's you will apply these at some time in your life. So the DOK level is another way for the teachers to assess how are we pushing our students enough? Are we asking them to do more than just recall? Which level 1 of DOK is just recalling facts, which in some cases that's super important. But then if you continue to push yourself around, level 2 is skill and concept, level 3 is strategic thinking, and level 4 is extended thinking. And so it's getting kids to not just recognize, tell, define, but design, synthesize, critique, analyze, so on and so forth. So that's just like a super short kind of explanation of what DOK is. So when you see that on my orange document, the DOK levels, that's what I think that those learning targets are at based on what skills I'm going to assess you. And then the instructional strategies, if you want to know some of the things we'll be doing in class to reach those standards or to reach those learning targets, you can look there, but you can also just be around for the ride and be in class because we'll be doing that stuff in class. So if you're ever wondering why we're doing something, and I ask you this because I'm just being honest with you, if you're ever wondering, why is Mrs. Bryce doing this? How does this relate to the standard or the learning target? Just ask me, because if I can't tell you, then most likely we shouldn't be doing it. If I can't justify why we're doing something in class, then we probably shouldn't be doing it. It's more like busy work. So go ahead and ask me. Anytime you're wondering, why are we doing this? Ask me. And you should expect for me to be able to tell you why, okay? Okay, so that's an overview. You can go back to that at any time if you want to be reminded of how I got to the learning targets, but then let's get to the learning progression on the front. So you guys have seen these probably a lot more than the document we just looked at. So again, you'll see the learning progression. I put the standard up at top, just like the last one we did. And it's a checklist, kind of, to reach that final goal. So it's stepping stones to reach the final goal. Now, you'll notice that there's way more learning targets on this learning progression than there are in my unpacked document, okay? I don't know if I'm doing this right, and I'm gonna have to talk to Mrs. McCarty about it a little bit more because I'm not sure if this is correct. But my way of thinking is that the learning targets that I picked from the standard are all in the proficient category, okay? So see the proficient category, look down at the purple sheet. In the proficient category, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? The same learning targets I picked out when I unpacked. But there are some things that we need to cover before we get to that, some foundational things, some developing things. And those are a little bit more like DOK1, where I'm just like introducing you to a concept or a skill, okay? But that's where we're gonna start. We're gonna start at the bottom and build our foundation. So, in the upcoming weeks, we will start at the bottom, put your finger down at the bottom where it says start here. I'm going to try to get you guys to understand the purpose of a resume, understand the purpose of a cover letter, learn about the importance of well-written resumes and cover letters, learn the different parts and headers of a professional resume, and learn the different sections of a cover letter, okay? So some of that is gonna be involving videos, readings, things like that. We have a guest speaker coming in on Friday to tell us about the importance of a well-written resume and cover letter, which will open your eyes to, oh, holy cow, it really is that important that we learn how to write a well-written resume and cover letter. Then we're gonna get into the more in-depth stuff in the proficient category. For this, we're going to, the first learning target, we're gonna leverage and utilize personal strengths that we will include in our resume, cover letter, and mock interview. Leverage and utilize personal strengths to include in a resume, cover letter, and mock interview. Then, during this process, you're gonna demonstrate integrity and ethical behavior through the development of your resume and cover letter. And what I mean by that is demonstrating honesty and ethical behavior, meaning that one of the biggest rules that you never want to break is lying in a resume or a cover letter. And our guest speaker on Friday will speak more to that. Utilize the strengths of others to assist in completion of goal. We will be doing workshops in here with our resumes and cover letters. Demonstrate mental, physical, and emotional preparedness to accomplish a task. Our task will ultimately be the interview. Use your interpersonal skills to influence and guide others, aka the interviewers, toward a goal. You're hired. And then, if you so choose, and I hope that you will, apply to real world outside of school. If you would like to go above and beyond in this standard, you will complete a real application online or paper copy and turn it in appropriately, online or in person. And you will contact, schedule, and attend an interview outside of school hours. Okay. If any questions come up along the way, just let me know. And please do be looking every day at what we're doing in class and holding me to it, because that's a goal of mine, to make sure that everything I do for a reason, okay? All right, your orange sheet. Everybody has that little orange strip of paper that I conveniently just cut from the bottom of this. This is gonna be your exit ticket today, and it's kind of like a little pre-assessment. I would like you on one side of the orange sheet to write resume, and on the other sheet, on the other side, write cover letter, and I want you to write down everything you think you know right now about a resume and everything you think you know about a cover letter. You don't know? No. That's okay. We'll find out tomorrow. Colton just, oh, sorry, Colton. Is it okay if I share? Colton just said, what is a cover letter? Tomorrow, we are going to start understanding the purpose of a resume. In understanding the purpose, you'll understand what a resume is. And we're gonna also go into understanding the purpose of a cover letter. And with understanding the purpose, we'll get into what is a cover letter. So we're gonna go towards the first two ones. Understand the purpose of a resume and understand the purpose of a cover letter. Before we leave today at 10 o'clock, when we have 5 minutes left, we're gonna come up with a couple questions, because we have a guest speaker coming in tomorrow to go towards our third learning target, which is learn about the importance of a well-written resume. So today we're gonna be focusing on the first two, understanding the purpose of a resume, understanding the purpose of a cover letter. Tomorrow we'll be understanding the importance of a well-written
Before we
resume.
begin, let's look over our pre-assessment that was your ticket out the door yesterday. So kind of some funny stuff. I was chuckling when I was recording this. So a lot of good things about the resume. So people knew different things about a resume. It gives your skills, recommendations, and information, explains clubs you're in, what you studied in college and previous jobs. It's a document with your information that you turn into colleges and jobs. It contains personal information, has what you have accomplished, school, GPA, class rank, etc. Tells what you were involved in, shares good things about you. It's your profile, everything you want an employer to know about you. It should make you look as good as possible to get you the job. Someone said, I've done one. They can say a lot about a person. Share specific skills that make you qualified for a job. You fill it out before you go into an interview. Reasons why you are the one who should get the job. So that was full of lots of good stuff. Then I flipped over to the other side of your ticket and cover letter, and that was much more slim. The cover letter, people said, it is a cover for a letter. I don't know. What the heck is a cover letter? I've done one. I have no idea. I think it's something that highlights goals. No idea. Shows who you are. Please tell me because I'm clueless. So, thank you for the feedback yesterday. Good pre-assessment for me to kind of know. So it seems like we all have a pretty good grasp on resumes. So I'm going to assign the what is a resume to about 1/3 of you, and then the other 2/3 of you are going to work towards what is a cover letter. When I say assign, I mean today we are going to be spending about 20 minutes, and that's it. You are going to be creating little quick pamphlets for someone if you were going to try to explain to them what is a cover letter, what is a resume.
Yep. So we're going to spend about 2 or 3 minutes right now where you guys are just going to have some discussion about some things you found out. Remembering our pre-assessment, it looks like you guys have a much better idea about what a resume was and what the purpose was for the resume. So the people that are that have created their what is a cover letter might be doing a little bit more talking during this 2 to 3 minutes, but this is all just brainstorming. We're just gathering our ideas and building knowledge amongst each other. So have a conversation, and then in about 2 minutes I'll interrupt because you'll have a new target that you'll need to
The resume usually contains like 4 sections: the contact, education, experience, and your honors activity and outreach. For your contact, you want to make sure that you have everything, like your full name, your email, your address, your phone number.
Before you leave today, your ticket out of here with your group, you need to come up with that cue on the one side I had you leave blank. You need to prepare, each one of you, so you can help each other, come up with one question that you might ask a guest speaker who has done hundreds of interviews and has accepted thousands and thousands of resumes and cover letters. What are some questions you might ask to that guest speaker about going back to learning about the importance of a well-written resume and cover letter, the purpose of a cover letter, and the purpose of a resume? Okay, so you're trying to ask questions that will help you master those 3 learning targets. So help each other come up with a question, write down a question, and then go ahead and put your pamphlet in your portfolio, and that's all for today. And I was impressed, though, the second day that you had an assignment in here where you had to try to make sure you conquered those 2 learning targets on your own. I saw some really good work that I wasn't really even expecting. I saw a lot of people wrote down, like almost kind of charted out for the different learning targets, which was pretty cool. So thank you for doing that. So as I said in my sub notes, that you should be preparing to be assessed for these first 5 learning targets are developing foundational learning targets, understand the purpose of a resume, understand the purpose of a cover letter, learn about the importance of well-written resumes and cover letters,
learn the different parts, headers of a professional resume, and learn the different sections of a cover letter. Before we go any further today, I'm going to have you guys self-assess. I'm going to have you assess yourself so that I can kind of gauge where everybody's at in this learning progression, and then we can determine where we're gonna go from there. So what you are going to do, you are gonna be given a sheet of paper that looks just like this. And students, before we move on to our proficient, you've got it, learning targets, please show and tell me where you think your learning is at on the 5 beginning learning targets. Use the below scale as a way to estimate your score, but know your justification will be what really tells me where you think you're at and how you know that. An example of a justification might be, I gave myself a 4 because just last night I was telling my mom all about the different parts of a resume and explaining to her what I was going to put in each section where we start. This is my make-believe and hopeful ending. She told me a lot has changed since she's been in school and she wishes she had teachers help creating her first resume. You're gonna rate your 1 is going to stand for, I'm still pretty confused and need some extra help. Eyes up here, please. 2 is going to stand for, I could probably recognize or pair correct answers to a test about this target, if a test was given about the target, in a multiple choice kind of fashion or matching. Number 3, a score of 3 means I understand this well and can explain it to you in speaking and writing. And a 4 is going to mean I am very confident about this target. I could teach a lesson on it to other students. Okay? So 4 is you feel so confident you'd be able to put together a PowerPoint, or you could teach a lesson to your classmates about that learning target specifically. Okay? Any questions about the scaling? And then, so you'll see over here, your sheet will just have the 5 learning targets that we've covered so far in this learning progression. A place for you to write the number of the score, and then a spot for you to write your justification. Please write small, there's not a lot of room in here, but that doesn't mean I don't want a lot. I want you to justify your score the best you can. And then down at the bottom, take a look at your learning progression, and the next learning target on your learning progression is leverage and utilize personal strengths to include in your resume, cover letter, and mock interview. So you're going to write, 1 thing I can do to prepare for the next learning target is, okay, that's the learning target I'm referring to when I ask you to tell me 1 thing you can do to prepare for that. Any questions? All right. After you fill this out, I will be meeting with each one of you independently to go through your justifications and to see where you're at. And then we'll be hopefully starting the next learning target next Monday, or maybe we'll be doing little sections of mini lessons on a resume or mini lessons on a cover letter, kind of based on what feedback I get back on your justifications today, okay?
Okay, Wyatt, so your justifications looking good, high numbers up there. So we'll start down at the bottom since that's the first learning target that we started with, okay? So understand the purpose of a resume. You gave yourself a 4. Your justification, I am most confident in this because I know what goes in them and why they're important. Okay, very good. So if you had to teach a lesson, because that was the 4, I'm very confident about this target, I could teach a lesson. If you had to teach a lesson on this and had to get across like 1 main thing to the students you were teaching to, what would you describe to them as the purpose of a resume?
I guess guess I would describe them to put what makes you applicable to the job or like qualified, I guess, so what you've done, accomplished,
Okay, so finish the sentence. The purpose of a resume is
to show the employer why you're fit for the job.
to show the employer why you're fit for the job and deserve an interview.
Yeah.
Really, right? Okay, good. Number 4, or the next one, understand the purpose of a cover letter. You also gave yourself a 4. I think I understand the importance of a cover letter and could talk and teach about it. Okay, so number 4 is I'm very confident about this target and could teach a lesson. So are you very
That I don't
confident?
think but somewhat confident, I guess.
Okay, so should we say that this one's a 4, you would feel comfortable creating a lesson for this one? Maybe this one's still a 3, you're
Yeah.
able to talk about it, maybe you wouldn't necessarily
wanna teach it,
teach
yeah.
it? Okay, we'll switch that to a 3, it's okay. Now, the next one, learn about the importance of well-written resume and cover letter. You gave yourself a 4. I think I know about the importance of cover letters and resumes and could teach this. Okay, so you were here when Mr. Reeves came and guest spoke, and so he talked about the importance of it. So if you were teaching a class and had to get across the point, and a student said, "Well, what's the point? What's the purpose of a well-written resume and cover letter?" What would you say?
To show your experience, I guess, and what you've done. And,
I'm sorry, did I phrase it wrong? What's the importance of a well-written resume and cover letter?
yeah. So it looks professional, so that it like looks nice and not bad, I guess.
Yes,
It looks nice.
yes, it has to look nice, and you have to be able to back up what's on there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I think that one might still be a 3 too. Like, if you had to teach a lesson on it, I feel like you might be a little shaky on that still. But I think you understand it, and you could probably, like, you and I could probably have a conversation about it, and I would think that, but I don't know that, again, I don't know that you're quite ready to lead a lesson on that. Or do you feel like you are? I don't know, you tell me.
I guess. I don't know.
If you walk away from here and I had to say, okay, which one of these do you want to teach next week? Which one would you say?
I'd rather do this one, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Okay, I'm gonna put, okay. Learn the different parts and headers. I think I have a decent understanding of this. I don't think I could teach it. Understand the purpose of a resume. You gave yourself a 3. I understand that you're filling it out, you're having one to show a little bit of background and why it makes you the best fit for the job. Whew, what a great explanation. I think you might even be a 4 because that's really what the purpose of a resume is. So who's to say you can't teach that to somebody?
I guess the 4.
Are you saying you don't want to teach it to somebody?
I mean, I don't know.
You gotta share your knowledge, buddy. Just joking, but that's a perfect definition or perfect answer to what's the purpose. Understand the purpose of a cover letter. You gave yourself a 2. Okay, good. And I see up here, I'm just kind of, my eyes wandered. Both cover letter ones have to have 2s, and I feel like that's okay. And that's on me because we haven't really had time to really dive deeply into cover letters as much as resumes. Oh, I like, okay, so here, learn about the importance of well-written resumes. So I had Mr. Reeves come in for that time, and we've been talking about it a lot, but you gave yourself a 4. You feel like if you had, let's say, a younger class come in and you were to have to present a lesson on what the importance of a well-written resume is, and one of them raised their hand and said, well, Matt, why is it so important to make sure that your resume and cover letter is written well? What would you say?
Because, how important it is, or
Yeah, this one. The importance. Why is it important to have a well-written resume?
it's important because if you don't really have a good resume or cover letter, like Mr. Reese said, it kind of says if you're gonna get an interview or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, you finished.
That's about all I was gonna say.
Yeah, it can really be that door that either opens or closes for you, right? So, I understand that cover letters can really decide if you get an interview or not. Perfect, okay? And then learn the different parts and head. I did that pamphlet. Okay, so you had resume for that pamphlet. Thanks, Ed. Good work. You can take that with you. Thank you, Riley. Okay, all right, so Ooh, whoa, we're like 44422.
Yep.
So what this is telling me is that you missed me because I wasn't here to teach this, so you really want me to teach you that, is that right?
I don't learn well when I have to learn it myself.
You don't learn well when you have to learn it yourself. Good to know. Okay, so it's okay because I'm going to teach it anyway. I just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a head start. So you would feel comfortable teaching a lesson on what the purpose of a resume is.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You would feel comfortable teaching a lesson on the purpose of a cover letter and what the purpose is, okay? Mr. Reeves must have done a good job. A lot of people are doing 4s on this one. The importance of well-written resumes and cover letter. He said Mr. Reeves helped with this one, and now the importance of a good cover letter resume is very clear to me. Awesome. Okay, so these last two. Learn the different parts, headers of a professional resume. Same thing as before. Learning the different parts is hard when we were never told what parts there were. Clarification could help. Got it. Noted. And I'm assuming that you kind of need the same thing up here. I'll tell you that's where we're going next week, is I'm going to be providing you guys with examples of really well-written resumes and cover letters, so you can kind of see what the end product looks like, which if you're anything like me, that's what I need to see before I really get started. I need to, you'll get to read a well-written cover letter and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Is that what you kind of are looking for?
Yeah.
Good, that's where we're going. So, and now I know that you prefer to be at least provided with some, which I didn't know that about you, Riley, because you are a very independent thinker. So,
I'm horrible at learning on my own.
really?
I have to have like a baseline to be able to learn on my own.
So, describe
Like
that to me.
So like if a teacher were to give me a project, like to write a paper on whatever I want to write about, that's okay because I can do that. But like if I don't have a baseline, then I can't.
And describe a baseline. What do you mean by baseline?
Something like built off of, like, if you were to give us a sheet, like with the different like parts of a cover letter, it'd work better because I'd be able to like go off of that to know
Okay.
what's what.
So a good example will help, and possibly when you get your eyes on a template as well, that'll probably help as well. Yeah, good. Those are the two directions we're going, so it sounds like it's good for you. Okay, and then the one thing you can do to prepare is find some personal strengths so I know what to write on the resume. Yes, and in the cover letter, because the cover letter is going to be where you're like, have a paragraph where you really actually get to talk about maybe like an experience or two that really builds off your personal strengths. Because you do have them, you just have to be able to defend them, you know what I mean, with some meat. Okay, very good. Thanks so much for your help. I appreciate videotaping too.